What's up, poker players? Hope you guys are out there killing it on the tables. In today's session, we are going to take a look at this quick winning session before we jump into this downswing where we lost 11 of 13 sessions during a almost 2K downswing. Ouch! Let's jump right into the hands. We'll get a winning hand starting out with pocket kings in the small blind at the 100 NL table. We get an open from under the gun to 3x, and we put in a 4-bet, make it $11 to go. Under the gun makes a call, and we see a flop of jack high, two-tone, two spades out there. Our opponent's range is pretty nutted in this spot, and I think we can extract the most value by betting. So we bet $13 on the flop. Don't want to give any free cards away to hands that could improve, like pocket queens or ace king. The only hand we are really behind in this spot would be pocket aces. There is the possibility of pocket tens being in our opponent's range, and they make a call of the $13. 10 on the turn pretty much eliminates pocket tens being in their range. Now we're really only afraid of pocket aces. We're ahead of ace king, ace queen, and pocket queens. Ace jack or ace 10 probably wouldn't be playing it that way from under the gun from a pretty tight regular opponent, but I elect to just check on the turn. I'm not too into a check there. I think we are giving away too much, but maybe we can bluff induce some ace kings or ace queens in the spot. We'll get a check back from Runner Lucker, and we see a 10 on the river. Now maybe we can bet and induce some calls from ace kings, ace queens, or any other hand that could be out there. With the full house on the board, they could think that we are splitting this pot a lot of the times. We are obviously going to get called from hands like pocket queens, and the chances are very slim that our opponent has a jack or a 10 in this spot. I bet $33. I could see this getting looked up by an ace high that missed. We get a jam though. They are probably thinking the exact same thing. We put each other probably on a hand like ace king, and we make a call here being pot committed, and we take down this pot with the full house, slightly better than our opponents. Starting off with a big win, but I have a feeling we are going to be losing a lot of big hands real quick. Starting with this one, we have ace king suited playing from the small blind at the 200 NL table. Folds around to the button, who opens to 2x. Going to be putting in a 3-bet here, make it 14 to go. I think that bet sizing could be a little bit larger, especially against a recreational player. I'd like it 16, possibly 18. Not a big difference, but it does make a difference. We get a call, and we see a flop. Heads up, $30 in the pot pre-flop. Flop is 7 high, two-tone, two spades out there. We have the nut flush draw as well as 2 overcards and a backdoor straight draw. Elect to just check in this spot. I think continuation betting is equally as good here. We would be building a pot where we could very easily get the nuts and be able to get our entire stack in against the recreational player, but they're pretty short stacked, and we should be able to do that as well on the turn and river when we do connect with our flush. But our opponent bets 14-25, and we put in a 3-bet semi-bluff in this spot, pot committing our opponent. It's going to be tough for them to call off a lot of hands, especially like the one they have. This is crazy. I can't believe we got it all in here. And they do jam the rest of their stack in. It is 57-43 for us to make a call here. We, of course, are going to be making a call, and we get it in only a slight underdog. We are a 47% favorite to win this hand. With the fold equity on our flop 3-bets, this is definitely a plus EV play. We just didn't get the fold this time around. And we, of course, do not hit our ace or flush on the turn or river, and we wind up losing this pot of almost $250. Once again, we have ace king of spades playing from the small blind at the 200 NL table. We get an open from Vegetables Aren't Yummy to 2.5x from under the gun, and we get a 3-bet from the button. The button is a recreational player and has an extremely high 3-bet percentage of 19.3%, and look at that 3-bet hand. I would not suggest 3-betting with 10-3 offsuit. That is not going to be making you money in the long run. So I put in a 4-bet of $50 here. I think we could possibly make it a little bit larger, but I do not mind getting in a hand with ace king against a player like this who is always going to be playing hands like that. Even out of position, I still think we should realize our edge in this spot. And our opponent does make a call. There's already $107 in the pot. We have 186 left in our stack. And flop is 7 high rainbow. We have the backdoor nut flush draw. We have backdoor straight draw as well as 2 overcards. I like to just check here. I think continuation betting has almost as much merit in this spot, but I think we're still ahead of most of our opponent's range here and think that we can call down with the value, with the showdown value that we have. Not to mention we're already pot committed, having a stack to pot ratio of under 2 already, and our opponent checks back on the flop and we see a turn of the queen of diamonds, and this time I bet $32. I do not like this bet very much against a player like this who is recreational and probably a pretty weak player. We're not going to be betting them off any hands that beat us. I think we should just get to showdown for as cheap as possible. So I do think this bet is a mistake. And you never want to be bluffing fish. You want to be bluffing the regulars, the thinking players. Fish are just going to call you down with the value that they have, even if it is bottom pair, which is exactly what happens. They do make a call. The 8 of spades comes on the river, not improving us. And this time we check. They also check, and we see that we got beat by bottom pair, calling a pre-flop 4-bet with 10-3 offsuit. Didn't think I was going to see that coming, but you're going to see a lot of weird plays out there. This is one of them. We are still at the 200 NL table. We have pocket deuces this time, playing from the button. We get an open from under the gun to a little bit larger than 2.5x, and we get a call from middle position. I elect to just call here with the pocket deuces and hopefully hit a set, which is exactly what happens on a dry board. We have bottom set playing in position against 2 pretty solid players, one very regular, one that could be recreational. Under the gun checks, middle position also checks. No check from us. We bet $10, a little bit larger than half pot, and we get a call from middle position, which could be a recreational player. We don't have a ton of hands on this player. King of hearts comes on the turn. Middle position checks again, and we again bet 2/3 pot, and we get check raised. Interesting play, and from a player who doesn't show very much aggression. This is very interesting. The only hand that really improved would be a king 10, which we are of course good with. Maybe our opponent picked up a flush draw with something like 8-9 of hearts that would be making this play, or they could possibly have floated the flop with 2 broadways, one being a king, or maybe a set of 7s. Most of those hands we are ahead of. We are behind a set of 7s, but that's really about it. So I jam the rest of our chips in, and we do get a fold. Maybe they were just trying to pick that pot up by putting in a bluff on the turn, representing hitting that king, but we can pretty much deduce that the king isn't going to be improving that many hands that make a call on the flop, and we take down this big pot with bottom set, and now we have pocket jacks at the 200 NL table. We get an open from middle position, regular player, lazy fish, solid player, so we elect to just call here, being in position, and we see a heads up flop. There's $15 in the pot, and we wind up flopping middle set. Lazy fish checks, and we also check. You gotta put in a tricky play against some of the regular players once in a while, change your game up. I think betting in this spot is equally as good. We're going to be building a pot, which we are most likely in the lead with. Little did I know that we are way behind, but we're probably going to get called by ace queens, ace kings, ace tens, a lot of hands that we don't want to give away free cards to as well. The 4 diamonds does not improve many hands, and this time lazy fish bets $8, a little bit larger than half pot. We're taking a tricky line here. We elect to just call, and somehow we are saving ourselves money on this one, and the 8 of diamonds comes on the river. The only hand that improves would be a 9-10, possibly being in our opponent's range, and they bet 1963 on the river, And now we, of course, put in the raise. We are still ahead of most of our opponent's range, and our opponent decides to just call here, possibly putting us on the 9-10, which is really the only hand that they lose to, which is kind of crazy, but somehow we got out of this hand pretty cheap. I don't like the way we played it though. Anytime you hit a set on a pretty dry board like we did, having the second nuts all the way throughout the hand until the river, not really liking the way we played it, but it did save us money in this exact situation. Only losing like $75, where we very easily could have lost our entire stack. Thanks for watching, poker players. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not done that yet. Head down to the video description for links to all the poker products that I use. Follow the links in the video description for social media as well. Make sure you guys are liking on Facebook, following on Twitter. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and you are learning something as I am by reviewing my own sessions. Leave those comments or questions down below and I will be back soon with a new video, but until then, I'll see you guys out on the virtual felt.